If your fretting hand fingers tend to fly away from the guitar neck as you play, you're not alone. Lots of guitar players struggle with flying little pinky fingers or even all the fingers. Today I'm going to teach you how to solve the flailing finger problem once and for all. Hi, I'm Tom Hess. Years ago, I really struggled with flying fingers, not just the little finger, but all of them. It was frustrating for two reasons. First, I knew that when the fingers are flying away from the fretboard, that my speed and accuracy was being severely limited. And second, this habit was so bad it seemed really impossible to fix. Now, I played for years without really fixing the flying fingers problem. Everything changed once I did three things. First, I learned the four things that cause fretting hand fingers to fly away from the guitar. Learning this was the most important part of the solution. Second, I discovered that the solution was not hard, but it did take some daily practice for a while to finally solve it. Third, when I followed the solution plan exactly, it worked. Let's talk for a moment about why the flying pinky or the flying flailing fingers is so bad for guitar playing. Some of this stuff might be obvious, some are maybe not so obvious. So let's start with the obvious. When the pinky or any other finger is flying away, especially when it's doing that at large distances, you know that the pinky or any other finger has to travel a great distance to play the next note. The greater the distance is, the slower the playing is going to be. It's going to severely limit how fast you can play because you're requiring the fingers to move much greater distances. Now, some of the maybe less obvious problems or dangers with this is that when the fingers are moving away from the guitar and they're doing it sort of automatically, you're not really conscious of it, it's happening because the signal from your brain to your hands is the wrong signal. We're going to talk about this a little bit later in this video about what the right signal is and how to change or replace the wrong signal with the right signal. The third reason why it's really bad is that it causes you to not have the same level of endurance. If you're having to play something that's fast or difficult or complex or challenging, you might start to fatigue much earlier than you should. So if you struggle, let's say, with playing legato, hammer-ons and pull-offs or trills, without getting tired, that might be an indication of why. So what causes fingers to flail and fly away from the fretboard? Well, there are four main causes, and the first one is called angled positioning. Angled positioning. So I want you to imagine in your fretting hand, if you make a fist, your knuckles, these knuckles right here, make a line. I call this the knuckle line, okay? This knuckle line ought to be parallel with the guitar neck. If it's like this, that's going to cause your fingers, particularly your little finger, to fly away from the guitar, and I'll show you why in just a moment. So when I take my hand and I put it up to the guitar neck, if I hold my hand like this, look where the knuckles are. I'll use this ruler to show you. If I put this against my knuckle line and then take my hand away, you see that the knuckle line, represented by the ruler here, is not parallel with the guitar neck. It's not like this, it's out like this. Look at the knuckles and how that looks. You see that they're not parallel. The knuckle line is not parallel with the guitar. All right, so don't think about the fingers right now. Don't think about how the fingers are positioned, what the angle is here about the fingers. You're just thinking about this, just the knuckle line, and where is that? Because this is the starting point of positioning. Okay, if you want your fingers to be parallel to the frets, your knuckle line needs to be parallel to the neck this way. Okay, so when your knuckle line is out like this, again like this, then what happens is the knuckle where your pinky finger begins is way out here. It's not close to the guitar. It's way far away from the guitar. That causes this finger to have to be completely straight. You can't curl it. very easily because it's starting way back here and you need the length to be able just to play the first string here. Okay? So if we move the knuckle line this way, and again, don't pay attention to what the fingers are doing, just what the fist is doing. Okay? With this position, the knuckle line is more parallel with the guitar, and now we don't have that problem with this finger having to do this. Okay? Now, this by itself is not going to cure the flying pinky finger. It's just part of the solution. It's not the solution in and of itself. All right? So the first step is to get the knuckle line parallel with the guitar. The second cause of flailing flying fingers is having a closed hand, So this is open, this is closed. This is open, this is closed. It looks like it's open, but it's really not. Look at those fingers. They're all curled up, okay? This is your hand not being open. An open hand is this, okay? That's an open hand. You can move your fingers freely this way. It's very difficult to move your fingers freely like this, okay? So when you're all bunched up, like when we have the angled positioning, your fingers can't move freely because the hand isn't open. This is an open hand. Closed hand, open hand. Closed hand, open hand, okay? Fingers nice and relaxed. So with parallel positioning and an open hand, not a closed hand, that will help you to start to solve the problem. Again, these first two things, angle positioning and an open hand, are not the cures alone. There's still two more steps here. Okay, but these two things, a closed hand and an awkward or unparalleled knuckle line, starts to contribute. It sets the environment for fingers flailing and flying away. Okay? So, again, so far, the first two causes or contributing causes are angled hand position and closed hand. Now the third cause or third contributing factor is what I call a play and move or play and recoil brain message. What does that mean? Here's what's happening when your fingers are flying away. Most of the time, when you play, I'll play with my fourth finger here. When you play a note, there's a signal, a message from your brain, shoots down your arm, into your hand, into your finger, and that message engages this side of the finger. And it tells the hand, it tells the finger to engage, to fret the note, to push down. After the note is played, and when you're no longer going to be fretting this note, when your finger flies away, what's usually happening is the brain is sending a wrong message. It is sending a message to this side of the hand, this side of the finger, and that message is telling this finger to move or to recoil. That is the wrong message. You don't want your brain sending that message to your finger. I'll tell you in a little bit later what the right message ought to be and why it's going to solve the problem for you. Okay, but right now, I just want you to understand that when the finger is flying away, that's not the finger acting on its own. It's not something with your muscles. It's your brain telling it to fly away. The brain is sending the message to that side of the finger to recoil or fly away. That's cause number 3. Cause number 4 for flying pinky fingers or flailing fingers in any finger in your fretting hand is excessive tension. So when you are tense, really anywhere in your body, that starts to transfer to tension in your hands, your arms, and in your fingers. So part of what's causing the finger to fly away, in addition to angled positioning often, in addition to a closed hand that's often a contributing factor, and in addition to the wrong message sent from the brain to the finger, is that the fingers are tense. You are tense. Your hand is tense. So when you're playing, you're already tense. And now you cannot easily get the fingers to relax, which is what you want them to do, when you no longer want to be fretting this note. Okay? You can't easily relax because you're under so much under so much tension, and that tension manifests itself more when you recoil or lift off, and that causes you to lift off or recoil farther. You go farther away than you would naturally or normally or should be doing. So to recap, the 4 contributing causes of flying pinky finger or flailing fingers is 1, the angled position, that's the knuckle line in relation to the guitar neck. The fact that the fingers are often closed, which causes this to happen. And then the third one is wrong messaging from your hand to this, from your brain to this side of your hand. And then the 4th contributing factor is excessive tension, which causes the fingers to move away at a greater distance than would be normal or what's really natural. Now that we've covered what the 4 causes are, let's talk about why many people, perhaps most people, never fully overcome this issue no matter how hard they try. And really, it's because they don't fully understand what the 4 contributing factors of flailing, flying fingers are. Well, now you do. So simply knowing what causes this is the most important step in trying to cure it. Because if we don't know what causes it, it's extremely hard, not impossible, but really hard to overcome this problem. All right, now let's talk about how to fix flying fingers. So the first 2 parts of the solution are things I've already alluded to, and I'll talk explicitly about them right now, and they're very closely related. So the first is to have an open hand. So you don't want your fingers curled like this. You want the hand open where they are most free to move. So when you just take your hand and you wiggle your fingers, it feels really easy. When you hold your fingers like this and wiggle your fingers, it's not as easy for the fingers to move. The second thing is you want to make sure that the knuckle line is parallel with the guitar neck pretty much most of the time. Now, there are some exceptions, like when you're bending a string or doing certain kinds of vibrato, you might want to take your thumb here and put it up here and use this part of your hand as a leverage point for bending strings or for vibrato. So right now we're not talking about those things, vibrato and bending strings and stuff. We're just talking about playing scales or arpeggios or licks or other sorts of phrases where you're not having to bend in the moment. Generally speaking, you want to keep the knuckle line parallel with the guitar. That helps keeps the fingers open, okay? So those 2 things together are the first parts, the first 2 pieces to solving the problem. Can you solve it with a closed hand and this kind of grip? You can solve it, yes you can, but it will take much longer and it will be much harder. So it can be done, but that's not what I would do. I don't recommend that. Now the third part of the solution is to change the messages that your brain is sending to your hand after you're done playing a note. So if I'm going to play this note here with my 4th finger, here on the 10th fret, so the message is sent from the brain to the finger, this side of the hand, this side of the finger to engage. So now I'm fretting that note. Now, what's important is what occurs next. After we no longer want to hear that note, that this note should no longer be fretted, the only message we want to send at this point is for this side of the hand to stop engaging. So the message is still coming to this side of the hand and we're just telling it stop. Stop doing what you're doing. Just knock it off, just stop. All right, so engage, stop engaging. In other words, play, relax. Play, relax. When you relax, your finger will naturally, all by itself, without having to use hardly any muscle movements at all, it will just come off the string. It'll come off the fret. Okay? So play, relax. Play, relax. Let me give you an analogy here. Imagine that you've got a switch, okay? Or like a toggle switch on your guitar, pickup selector. Now, if you have the switch here, you know that this pickup would be on. If we put the switch over here, this pickup would be on. So in this example, this kind of a switch, it's either this pickup or that pickup, okay? Now stay with me because this is important. Think about that analogy as it relates to your fingers. When your fingers are flying away from the guitar, your brain is using your hand like a switch. It's either here or it's here. It's either engage this way or engage that way. Go this way, go that way. Go this way, go that way. That's what's happening when your finger flies away. That is not what we want to happen. Okay, we don't want to have this kind of a switch in your brain and in your hand because that causes the finger to shoot away, to recoil, to move or to lift off. It's launching off the guitar. We don't want that. Instead, think about a light switch. So a light switch, as you know, is either on or off. That's it. It's not an either or, like I'm going to use this pickup or that pickup. I'm going to move this way or I'm going to move that way. A light switch is either take action, don't take action. Light, don't light. Let the electricity go through, don't let the electricity go through. Just stop doing what you're doing. Stop the electricity flow. Same kind of idea or principle here. So the light switch, it's on. So the finger is fretting the note. So it's like the light switch is on. Turn the light switch off. That means you're no longer fretting it. You just relax. Nothing's happening. The finger just comes off because it's not being engaged to fret the note. Just like you flick the light switch off, the lights are out. Okay? Nothing is happening in the wall. There's just no current getting to the light. Okay? So want to play, relax. Play, relax. Engage, stop engaging. Engage, stop engaging. That's very, very different. What's happening in your brain, the message that you're sending to your hand is completely different than go down, go off. Go down, go off. See, now the message is engage, now engage over here and fly away. Engage, fret the note, engage over here and fly away. That's not what we want. We want engage, stop engaging. Engage, stop engaging. Engage, stop engaging. See, I'm not telling my hands to do this. I'm not telling them to move in that direction. I'm simply telling my hands, stop moving in this direction. Just relax. Engage, stop engaging. Engage, stop engaging. That's how you solve it, okay? You need to just play and then relax. All right, now the fourth part of the solution here is tension control. And there's really tension control of two types. The first type is tension in excessive tension generally in your body. That could be anywhere. It could be, you could be gritting your teeth, you could be curling your toes, you could be doing anything, anywhere in your body that tension starts to build, your muscles start to contract. Eventually, that's going to start when that happens when you play, eventually that's going to start influencing what's happening in your hands. Your arms, your hands, your fingers. So we want to not play with any unnecessary, any excessive tension anywhere in our body. We want to stay as relaxed as we can. Now, more specifically, we want to make sure that our hand and our fingers are relaxed. Okay, but that, again, that really starts with eliminating excessive, unnecessary tension everywhere else. All right? But we're going to focus in this moment now on keeping your fingers relaxed. So when you fret a note, any note with any one of your fingers, we don't want to grip hard. Okay, we don't want to dig in. We don't want to squeeze the guitar, squeeze the frets. You're only using enough power that is necessary to fret the note, and that is not very much power at all. There are times when you will need power, but they're rare. So one example might be if I take the string and I bend it up 3 steps, that's going to take some power and leverage. But if I'm playing a scale or an arpeggio or a chord or something like that, a sequence or most licks, there's very, very, very little power needed. If you use more force, more power than you need to make the note cleanly and accurately, it's all wasted energy and it starts to collect as excessive tension. That tension then contributes to fingers moving inefficiently and flying away. So now you know why flailing, flying fingers is bad for your guitar playing. You know the 4 contributing factors or causes that lead to or create the conditions where your fingers start flying away from the guitar neck. And we've also talked about the 4 solutions or 4 contributing factors to overcome and eliminate this problem. Now, if you want to build more guitar speed with your fretting hand, you're going to love my new free e-guide called Mastering Fretting Hand Finger Independence for Guitar Players. It's totally free, no strings attached, and I think you're going to love this. So click on the link below right now to download your copy.